Hello, in this presentation we will be creating a sales receipt applied to a particular job for a particular customer within QuickBooks Pro 2018. If you have been working along with us, that's great. We're going to be continuing with the Get Great Guitars problem. If you have not, that's okay. We will be creating a sales receipt. That sales receipt then being applied to a particular job that we have created for a particular customer and see what the impact is of entering that data. If you have the backup file to this point, you can restore that going to File, Open, and Restore. If not, that's okay, but if you're working through the problem, it would be helpful to be all at the same point in time. We will be working with customers and jobs that we have set up in the past, so if you're following along and you want to have those exact customers and jobs and the data that we need, then there you can put that information in. If not, then you can go back and build the information and or just see what we have in terms of creating a sales receipt for a job. Also note that we have the Home tab open, which is going to be under Company and Home Page. And we have the Open Windows here, which is under View and Open Window List. That'll give you this list of open windows. What we will be doing here is creating a sales receipt as we have in the past, but rather than just applying it to a particular customer, we are going to apply this to a particular job. And in order to see that, let's take a look at the jobs we have set up. If you haven't set up jobs or you want to set up the jobs that we've looked at, take a look at a prior video in terms of how the jobs are set up. We'll take a look at the jobs that have been set up here by going to the Customer Center through this link, or you can select the drop down, which I recommend getting used to because you can get to the center anytime from the drop down. Customer Center. Here is our Customer Center. We set up two jobs, job 3005 and 4002, those being related to the customer of Jones Guitar and Sam the Guitar Man respectively. We set those up just by clicking on the customer and then going to New Customer Job and adding a job, and then just basically typing the number there. The usefulness of this is that we may have multiple jobs for a particular customer and want to track those jobs separately in terms of applying time and more of a job cost system per job rather than simply by customer. And so this job then will track particular job. For example, we may have sold a guitar to Jones Guitar, and then we may have some other jobs that we're doing maintenance on the guitar in some way, and therefore want to track that in a separate job and track that time. We could have multiple jobs for a particular client and want to make sure that we are billing those multiple jobs on their own and tracking them separately. That's when a job cost system and the jobs within it, the creation of jobs, can be useful. What we will do right now is create a sales receipt. And we're going to create a sales receipt for these individuals, these companies, Jones Guitar and Sam the Guitar Man. However, we are going to create it for the particular job related to them and track that information by job. So we're going to go back to the Home tab within the Open Windows. And we're going to create a sales receipt first for Sam the Guitar Man. So we're going to click on Create Sales Receipt. Note that this is similar to an invoice, but rather than debiting accounts receivable or increasing the receivable, what is owed to us, we're going to say that we received payment at this point in time and put the increase into undeposited funds. We're going to make it to Sam the Guitar Man. However, we're going to type in not the name, but the number of the job 4002. We can see that it will populate up here the full name as we just typed in the number, name and then number. And it'll also populate down here, giving us the name and then subcategory of the number. If we tab through this, we're going to have the template, and we're going to say the payment, we can say cash. If we tab through, we're going to say the date is 1/31. We're going to keep the sales number the same. That should be generated from the sales receipt number. That should be generated from QuickBooks. And we're going to tab through this to the item. And we're going to say it's going to be a service item. We could select the drop down to select the service item, or we can select the service item by starting to type it. This is an inventory item, this is a sales item, not inventory, not something we're physically selling, but service on the guitar in this case. saying that QuickBooks is applying sales tax. I'm going to say OK. And then this is actually an item because its service typically probably does not have sales tax in most states. And therefore, I'm going to take that off by selecting down here, customer code. If you select this, it's out of the screen right now, but the drop down is going to say tax or non-taxable. And we want to make sure that it is non-taxable. And that currently is not adding the tax here. So it's currently non-taxable because it is a service item. It's populating for itself here. So we already have this item set up for the service item being 100. So we're going to keep that in place. We're just going to say quantity 1. And there is that information for Sam the Guitar Man. When we record this, then it's going to increase the undeposited funds and it's going to credit the service revenue. So let's go ahead and record this and see if that is indeed the case. So we're going to open up our two main reports here, our balance sheet and profit and loss or income statement by going to reports. We're going to go to company and financial. We're going to scroll down to the balance sheet. And we're going to change the date range by first going to customize report. The date range being 01/01/21, January 1st, 2021 to 12/31/21, December 31st, 21. And there we have that. So the sales receipt then has increased this undeposited funds. So it didn't put it into the checking account. We increased undeposited funds. If we zoom in on that, we see that 100 here. Zooming in on that, we see the 100 there. We're then going to close back out of this. I'm going to close this back out. We're going to close this back out. The other side then, if we go to reports, we go to company and financial will be the profit and loss we want to look at. Changing the date ranges from 01/01/21 to 12/31/21. We see our information here. Now we had service revenue. So if we double click on the service, we see the item here. There's the 100. Double clicking on that, we see our sales receipt there. So there is the journal entry that has been created. We're going to close this back out. We're going to do this process one more time. And we are going to go back then to the home page. So let's go to the home page. We will create another sales receipt. And we're going to create it for 3005. And that, once again, it's going to be a job, this time related to Jones Guitars. So Jones Guitars 3005, the subcategory. It'll type it in this format, Jones Guitar, and then the job 3005 up top. Tabbing through that, we're going to say we got cash. The date will remain the same. The sales number or the sales receipt number will be generated. And we're going to tab through to the items. We are once again going to choose the item of a service item, the partial service. We're going to tab through that. And this time we're going to say that we have the quantity 2 of those. And note, this is an area where if we're tracking by service item, if we're doing a job cost system, basically just applying our time out, we'd want to be tracking our time and then applying it out to the particular jobs. And we might have different people within our organization that we have different billable rates to. Different items then to, and then be counting the time they spent on those particular processes. That in essence is what we are recording here in terms of a job cost system and applying those costs to a particular job for a particular customer. So we have that information here. We're now at a cost of 210. The sales tax, we should not have any, this again being a service item. So we're going to turn off the sales tax. I'm going to take the tax here. We have none. I'm going to say none and say OK. And that has been turned off. So now we're not charging sales tax for the service item or value tax. And that will be that. So we're going to go ahead and record this. We'll check one more time what happens on the financial statements. It should be increasing undeposited funds. It should be increasing the sales. So we're going to say save and close. And yes. And then we're going to go to the balance sheet. And it should refresh automatically. We see undeposited funds here, 300. We double click on that. There is our 100 from the last one, 200 from this sales receipt. Double clicking on that, we see the sales receipt. Closing this back out, closing this back out. we can go to the profit and loss in the open windows. And within the profit and loss, we're going to take a look at the service items. Double clicking on that, we see that 200 there. There's the service item, and there's that information here. All right, I'm going to close this back out and close this back out. Note that if you were tracking jobs and the job cost system, you can also have various reports in terms of the job cost system. So if you select the reports up top and you scroll down to the jobs and time mileage tracking, you could have the job profitability summary, the job profitability detail, and look at information if you're applying more costs out to the jobs. This could be very useful if we're not doing just a service company, meaning applying hours out to the job, but using the job cost system to track costs per job and making bids on jobs in a job cost system in that format. These reports can be used to look and track by particular job, not just the revenue per job, but also expenses applied to each individual job as well.